All right, now what I got to do is I'm going to start to add this piece here. That's this middle of the support stand, which is going to be made of two different parts. And it's going to have this hole that's going to be drilled out of it. So it is going to be 24 tall, it'll be 20 wide, and it'll be 40 deep. So I'm going to go ahead and come back here. I'll grab my box. I'm going to drag this on the top of that base. And I know that based off of my dimensions, that'll be 40 deep, it's 20 wide, and then this is going to be 24 tall. And again, I get those numbers from here. So I see that it's 24 tall, it's 20 wide here, and it's going to be 40 deep. I'm going to go ahead and take those two shapes, and I'm going to align them. Use my base as my master, and I'll align that center, align that center. So now that's where that needs to be. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to drag this round roof, and that's going to be my half circle on the top here. So I'm going to go ahead and drag that to this top surface. Now this is in the wrong orientation, so what I'm going to need to do is I'm going to need to rotate this thing exactly 90 degrees. And now I know that this is going to be 20 wide here. I know that this is going to be 40. Oops, got 4. That'll be 40. And then from a height standpoint, what I have to think about is this. If I know that my diameter is twice my radius, and this whole thing is 40, it's going to be 20 millimeters from the middle of this to the edge of that. It'll also be 20 millimeters from the edge, or from the middle to the edge. And so I know from the middle to the top will be 20. So I'll come back here. So I know that that is going to be 20. So now those two are the right size. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and align those up. So I'll select those objects, choose my align tool, have my base as my master. I'm going to center there, center there. Now I've got all of those objects that are lined up. Now the next thing that I have to do is I've got to take this hole that's a cylinder, and I've got to put this all the way through this object here. So I'm going to go ahead and grab my cylinder. I'm going to drag that on the surface of that there. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this and I'm going to go ahead and move that. Let's to make sure that that goes all the way through. I'm going to go ahead and make this thing just a little bit longer here. And then I'll just use my arrow keys. I can go ahead and nudge that through. So I can see that that's going all the way through there. Now what I want to do is I want to make sure that it's in the middle of this. So I'm going to go ahead and select my objects, choose my align tool. I'll make sure that I choose this base as my master and choose the align to the middle. So now that's exactly lined up in the middle, left to right. Now I just need to make sure that this thing is the correct diameter, and I have to make sure that it is the right size, the right distance from this corner all the way up. So I know that my radius is 12 of this circle. So again, thinking about radius is only half of my diameter. So in order to get my correct measurement, that is going to have a diameter of 24. So I'm going to make sure that that circle there is 24 wide. That is 24 tall. Of course, now I'm going to have to realign that. So let's go ahead and do that. I have that selected. And I'm going to align. I'll have this as my master. And then I re-centered that back up in there. So right now that's too high. I'm going to need to use my ruler, and it is going to be exactly 24 millimeters from the corner of this object to the center of my circle. So I'm going to change my work plane to this front surface. So now that's going to be my work plane. So now when I drag my ruler, I'm going to want my ruler to be locked in right to that corner right there. And then I'm going to select my circle. And it's still on my midpoint. I need to make sure it's on my midpoint. I can see that from this bottom edge to this middle here, that's actually 28, and that should be 24. So now what I have is I have this circle that is exactly 24 millimeters from this corner to the middle of that circle. So now what I'm able to do is go ahead and close that ruler. We'll pull our work plane back. So I've dragged this on there. I know that it's exactly 24 wide, 24 tall. I then selected my objects and I aligned it to the middle, left and right. I changed my work plane to that front surface, used my ruler. I made sure that I locked into that front corner here, used the midpoint of my ruler, and then made sure that the center of that is 24. That goes all the way through. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to select all my objects here. I'm going to go ahead and group them together. There we go. Now, when I group them, if I'm looking at a color right now, multicolor mode is selected. So if I were just to change the color, I could do a single color. If I choose multicolor, what it does is it keeps my objects the original colors that they were. So that's adding that support. Top of the support and that 24 millimeter diameter hole all the way through that.